Happy New Year and welcome to the first edition of Food Chain for 2023. Last year, we promised an educative and exciting show. I believe we delivered. In this episode, we've compiled some selected stories from 2022. I'm joined by my colleague from Kumasi, Prince Apia. Happy New Year, Prince.
Happy New Year, Emma. Yes, last year was very good. We traveled across the country and brought to our audience very important agriculture stories. And this year will not be different. It's surely going to be a very good year. Over to you, Emma.
Thank you, Prince. One of my favorite episodes last year was cattle farming in Ghana. In that episode, I engaged the Cattle Farmers Association and they highlighted the challenges along the sector as well as giving me the reason behind the clash between farmers and herdsmen.
You know, you find out that this conflict, the perennial conflict we are talking about, the farmer-herder conflict, actually do happen mostly during the drought season. Because within the raining season, you know, the grass is found almost everywhere. So the cattle don't need to go too much far to access the grass. You get me? But during the drought season, now the cattle need to move far to access the grass. So during that time, it is only the cool areas, the southern parts where it's a bit cool is where you find the grass. So that's why most of the times you see during the drought season, the animals from the north move to Borno Ahafo region, move down to Ashanti and wherever, come downward. And these places are also the farming community areas. So the movement of the animal, which is also mandatory, because where I am, if I cannot produce feed for my animals and there is a drought, there is no feed, what do? I have no alternative. I don't have any technical way to bring to, what do we call, to formulate any feed to my animals. So the only option is to move. And through the movement, the conflicts, you know, occurs.
Why can't we get some feed, some feeds like the poultry farmers also give their fowls, the pig farmers also give their pigs. I know the feed for cattle, right? So what's the hold up?
Yeah, the hold up is very simple. The feed for cattle, what one animal will eat a day is too much. It's not small. It cannot be compared to the chicken. So if you have a good number of animals and think you can feed them, except if you want to do what we call fattening. Fattening is during the drought season, I go into the north or any parts and then get some animals. They are grown already, but because of the hunger, they look lean. I bring them down to the south and then I just keep them somewhere, cut some grass and buy something, maybe within a certain period. The maximum time for what do we call fattening is 3 months. So you dispose them, you sell them. There are few numbers of animals, so you can be able to feed them in and sell. But about 200 cattle, 300 cattle, how are you feeding them? You cannot feed them because even if the feed is there, number one, they need a gradual adoption because they've not been used to it. The technicians must come in. Number two, even if it happens like you cannot afford to buy because you don't use to derive what we call daily income from your animals. You mentioned the poultry farmers. The poultry farmers, if you say how many fowls or chicken will you sell to buy one cow? Almost 1,000 to buy one cow. You understand? But because they do have daily income from the eggs, so it gives them the power. Every day they get something. Every day they get something. So if they get something every day, from what they get every day, they can buy feed too. But for those advanced places where they give the animals feed, you find out that they derive milk a lot. So they sell the milk and from that they buy the feed and feed the animals and then get even more.
One of the episodes that resonated with me personally was my interview with Randy Abam, Miss Agriculture Ghana 2021. Having the narrative shift and seeing the youth enthused about agriculture gives me hope that there's a future for the sector.
The mere thought of feeding humans the mere thought that we eat every day is what motivated me to go into farming. I joined the greenhouse capacity training organized by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. With the skills acquired from the greenhouse training, I joined Agri-Sustainable Ghana as a farm hand. With time, I rose to be the farm administrator here at Agri-Sustainable Ghana, and currently, I'm the marketing manager for Agri-Sustainable Ghana. I took part in a pageant, Miss Agriculture Ghana. With the passion and zeal that I had, I won the pageant, and I'm currently the Miss Agriculture Ghana Queen. We are in the tomato tunnel. After 21 days in the nursery, the seedlings are transplanted here. The growing medium we use here is the cocoa peat, and we use the drip irrigation technology over here. The tomato plant is 8 weeks now after transplanting, and as we can see, we have all our fruits setting. So after transplanting, it goes through a lot of processes. We use this rope to train the tomato plant to grow in a particular direction. If you allow the plant, it would be growing and be spreading on the ground. So we use the trellis lines to train it, to give it support to go in a particular direction. Here, because it's not in the open field, we have to induce the fruit set. So we do what we call pollination. We have a hormone that we spray in the flowers to induce the fruit sets. After fruit sets, we continue to take care of the plant. There are different branches that will develop from every node of the plant. There are branches that develop, and we are looking at getting a particular fruit weight, a particular size, and a particular quality for the market. So we take off all those branches to allow the nutrients to develop in the main stem, which allows us to get the type of fruits that we want. Our market wants the very big and heavy fruits, so that is what we do. We take off all the side shoots, all the other branches that will develop, so that our plants can be healthy. Aside that, there are a lot of activities that go on. Although the greenhouse structure minimizes the rate of pests and also protects the whole crop, there is no rain entering the tunnels, and everything is just on point. So we have routine sprayings that we do in case there are any pests are going to attack the plant. The nutrients that we apply, we also realize that if we are seeing any changes in the plant, if the leaves are turning pale, if they are deep, it gives us the idea that maybe our plant is lacking a particular nutrient. So we need to increase the fertilizers that we are using. We need to increase the feeding regime that we give the plants. At 8 weeks, we realize that we observe a first color break, which means that our plant is getting ready for harvest. So this is how our color break starts. When we see this in most of the plants, it tells us that we are getting near to harvesting, or we should expect harvesting very soon. If we see a lot of this in the tunnel, it means that we can start with harvesting. After harvesting, all harvested produce is taken to the pack house. At the pack house, we allow it to cool because of the temperature that we harvested from. So allow it to cool for some time. We take the production weights. Then the ladies take records of the weight that they have taken. Afterwards, we clean the tomato from every form of dirt that could be on it. Then we sort and grade into the various classes. Our market, we have several markets and what they demand for. We have people demanding for very large sizes. We have people demanding for the very small sizes. So we grade according to what our customers want. And we store in the cold room. So we wait for orders. We get orders from Accra. Then we pack according to how the customers want it to be packed. Whether they want it in crates or whether they want it packaged in a packaging material. We harvest 3 times in a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So when the harvest produce gets to the pack house, we label it according to the date it was harvested. So that when we are getting the produce out of the cold room, we know that we do the FIFO system, first in, first out. So we take all those produce that we harvested a day before to the market so that the new ones can stay in the cold room. Greenhouse technology is one of the modules under the Planting for Food and Jobs initiated by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Just like what we have here, Agri-Sustainable Ghana, a stakeholder, collaborated with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and has taken on this project. We encourage that more stakeholders will take on projects started by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to make agriculture attractive to the young people. We also hope that more people would venture into agriculture, open more jobs, create more employment for the young people, because this sector needs the young people to be vibrant.
A point along the agricultural value chain that is barely talked about is the process through which the raw produce is transitioned into food on the plate, cooking. That is why a whole episode was dedicated to clean cooking. This highlighted the importance of knowing and assessing clean energies used in cooking.
Let's admit that because of experiences we've had in this country where we've seen whole tankers blowing and killing people, we've seen a lot of households being set on fire because of poor handling of the LPG equipment, people are naturally scared to use LPG. And that is where education comes in. I think that we haven't done enough education on how to use these equipments. And so people will naturally shy away from. Now, when you're using LPG, there are some few things that you would have to think about. One, affordability. It's a big issue, especially in recent times, post-COVID, and with the Russia-Ukraine crisis. You already know how fuel prices have risen in this country. And so you can't even begin to talk about the economics of using those fuels. Then the issue about safety, I've already talked about. And then even availability. Sometimes you have the money in your hands, but you can't even get the fuel to buy. So these are teething problems that we are still working around to see how best we can address them. But when it comes to the issue about safety, I know education helps a lot. I talked about installing stoves in some school kitchens. When we started, they didn't want to hear anything about LPG. We took them through training, series of trainings, and then we installed the equipment for them. Today, they are advocates of LPG, and they have stopped using fuel wood. So yes, I know that with education, we can bridge that gap. Then the mix about the woman who is using both LPG and the biomass-based stove, the charcoal coal pots. It's also very natural, especially in our part of the world. Same issues about availability and affordability. A lot of us do stove stacking in our homes. You have your LPG, but your LPG can get finished at a time when you can't even afford to go out to get a new one. So what do? Naturally, you bring back the old coal pots to use. So these things are normal, and until we are able to address our affordability and availability issues, they will continue to exist.
So to be fair, I come from a home where we use the coal pots to cook bankum or kokonte, those kind of foods. Anyway, so how many have you distributed so far?
Quite a lot. I'd have to rack my mind back to when we started. It's quite a lot. Each project comes with its own quota of source of fuels that you want to distribute. So if I'm speaking in terms of projects, then I may be able to come up with something, but we've done a lot of distribution.
People rely on certain forms of energy to cook because of accessibility and affordability.
Yes.
Could it be that, you know, Ghanaians have not really had access to these affordable energy to cook?
Of course, you know, the thing is that, you know, there are traditions and there are way that things are done. And there are a lot of times when you have information too, there is also innovations. You know, so this is an innovation that is impacting a sector that, you know, at first none of us really knew there was that issue. You know, you walk into the kitchen, the smoke is billowing, everybody's there, you are coughing, your eyes, and then you go, the food is done, you eat and you forget about it, you know. But once you start getting more informed and seeing that there is a certain cost to that, and the cost is not only happening to a cost that's outside, it's the people you love, the people who are close to the kitchen, our mothers, our sisters who are doing that, then that means that we have to figure out ways to also, you know, do the adjustment and then take advantage of the advances in technology that can help us also bring new technologies that can help us be able to, you know, diminish, you know, that type of impact. But then affordability too is a whole thing. So that's why there is the need for governments and policymakers to be involved in terms of scaling this approach, and then also individuals, private sector also getting involved in, so that we can be able to create a market for it, and through the market too, that can be able to bring down cost and prices for it to be affordable and mass.
Thank you, Emma. Well, I'll be looking at some of the indigenous food or snacks that we looked at last year. First, let's look at Agbelikakro or Banchikakro, a story we did from Kwamo in Ashanti region. Sandra Banini, together with other colleagues, are seen busily molding cassava dough into sizes. One after the other, this continues till all the dough is finished. Then, they put them in batches into these pots, almost filled with hot oil.
Jabanchina ne ahohoro ne yam ne de jeni afra ne de nchini afra wi a ne atai no boto neat ni ti se ehonum no ya tai de bo atoto so te bo wana ne yaba ye ba e master was started ebobo odi gumsa e be ana odi jeni agusu no ayi abesi hono na on so we no aso.
It's nutritious in the sense that it gives us the energy that we need to work. And you have to eat it when you are active. You don't have to eat it in the evening or late hour, or you don't have to eat it consistently, especially if you have underlying issue like you're diabetic and then you are putting on so much weight, and because of that you are predisposed to a number of cardiovascular diseases and other things. Then you have to pause on eating Banchikakro. If you want to eat it, then once in a while, and it should be in your active period. May I call it white gold, our white gold. Cassava is very good in the sense that the starch or the carbohydrate that we have in it is complex. It is not a simple carbohydrate. The simple carbohydrates are not very good because they have been linked with to cardiovascular diseases. But then the carbohydrate that we have in cassava is complex carbohydrate. We have the starch and then we have the fiber, which is good for our health. When you take such food, it takes a very long time for it to digest. So it gives your body, your system, the needed time to digest it and then to release sugar in your blood system. Instead of products that have more of simple sugars, you take them, they release sugar very fast. And those have been linked to cardiovascular diseases I'm talking about. And because of that, I would say Banchikakro is good, but as I caution, you have to eat it at the time that you are active. One other thing about the frying is that it's deep fried, and usually they use the oil repeatedly, which is not actually good for our health, in the sense that when you heat oil repeatedly, there are some reactions that go on. We have more free radicals. When you take such food, they increase your cholesterol level, they reduce your body system to fight against certain things, and therefore it is not good. Even it's a normal cooking practice that we have to practice at home. You don't have to use your oil repeatedly, but those who prepare Banchikakro, that is what they use. They use the oil repeatedly, and you know the product takes a lot of oil. So
that's because the oil is expensive these days. So
yes, but we talk of expensive and we also talk of health. Sometimes we do things in a cheaper way, bring diseases upon ourselves, and then we use the money that we didn't use before to take care of our health. And sometimes it goes beyond the repairs. and it can affect you for the rest of your life. So if you eat such foods consistently, you are likely to reduce your immune system and then have yourself prone to a lot of some of these strange diseases that are coming up and claiming a lot of lives. So I think it's a very simple cooking process that everybody should adhere to. If you have oil, you're using oil in your kitchen, just use it maybe twice. You fry it. It even depends on the time of the frying. Your product, if it takes a very long time to fry, then once you fry it once, that is okay. I think most of our products on the street foods especially are fried repeatedly and they are not good for our health. So what I've been thinking, and I'm even going to work on it actually, is to use, now we have what you call an air fryer. It doesn't use oil. We have a small equipment that is tabletop that could be used to fry, or grill our products. It can give you the crispy and then the tasty aspect of it, but then you don't use oil, so it is more healthier. And we are going to use air fryer to do banche kakro to see how it comes out. So such a technology could be adopted by agric engineers, our engineers, to develop something for the industry.
My next story has to do with these women in the Central East District of the Ashanti region. They produce palm kernel oil or red oil using obsolete equipment. Despite the challenges they go through, they remain resolute to produce the red oil for their customers. It will then be collected and carried to the spot where it will be cooked for hours. This enclave provides employment to a good number of the women in the Asokore and its surrounding communities. Abuajowa, one of the leaders, explains the genesis of this work.
I have 24 years. My papa and my idea papa no and my favorite shall say, Medi Park a crack. Nigga said, me to be Pani Swana. Me am just a matching. I actually not my tongue. First, I'm in Chinwo. The Bahayana of a chin. Maybe what maybe the Abeba have a year, Ye the fear cry and Quanquania. I want to finish the Bahana near Baba Yeno. The Bayan one of a penny win to win, I say. We see for the almost see a name and make enemy jay. O ma dwuma na chidie bi jae na papa ne wuye na me busua na me wa ha e chemu a na me de amanko na ma befa buga na abetongu na ma bobo ana na me de ko eni wa dwuma na ha me ibi won so me dipa me ti yi mafin se de hu ni se no ti yi mafin no bi boa kakra se de be ya e be boa asetenem e doso dodo no afide no e 1 2 3 na wine for ne bi ko we fidie ni ba ko nso atua so e we yeki no mu nyina wa ha fidie nyina timi ye adwuma ba no mu nyina fise isi ha e na call manya private no mu so atisi wo ho e.
Grace Ba is one of the oldest workers here. She is one of those who bring the palm nut fruit from suppliers.
Na meti kuro bi so wo ekwan so ye fere ho bi ma. Enti ebire bi duru na me papa edo abefuo wo bi ma ho. Enti enu abe na me de aba ha na ma ba abeye. Enti edidi mu na abe no wodua kokoo fa ase e no oto abe no. Enti efiri wo no na tete jame nto me ya na me kodwa ben. Na wo mo de lutu ba edwa ma koto bi ne ma beye. Kakra. Enti sika kakra ba me ntem na afa na metimi tobi efiri akuafo ho ewo enkuro so biabe enkuro ase bi wo ho na ye frɛ ho kokode na me kotobi wo ho akire ntuso na metimi kotobi wo mampon atonfu agya ane ebunu so ewo nso na me kotobi kakra sana me ba nso wo musuku ko na nimu Enti adwuma we no aboa me yankasa
they are losing a lot of production time because they are going to use most of the time in doing maintenance. Because as the machine grows old, there is wear and tear. It means that when you don't expect, the machine will break down. And in so doing, you can incur a lot of loss. Because whilst the process is going on, if it breaks down and you cannot get the part to replace it, most of the raw material or the material in the system will go waste.
Well, finally, we put a spotlight on the declining Gari processing hub at Anwaga, a suburb of Kumasi in Ashanti region, where these women brace their odds to produce Gari in a very indigenous way for the consuming public. Let's take a look. The business has sustained her and her household financially for years. So, though she stopped for some years, she has returned to it because her options are limited.
We started about 20 years by Babina and Koyi Timijaya by 4 years. I think I'm a Sambashasi. Wow. Now, Koyi, I say, which a bunch of boy in Uchi and so Nisika. And I didn't need Tonosu and Yashi show. Timijaya by 4 years, Ukraine. And son, as a Masabashasi.
That's a Siano, eh?
So, any boarding, so Jawuya, Unya Nisika, na Unya Kakra Obedia. No, Fanny says, so Obeda. Minimi Baba, I been a Mibano or the Anka Banchino, Kebesi Sako, Mapata Nasimi, only say. Kebesi Sabanchinaco Batasi, Akurani Nihonti, mi pentemonso. First, me shall see no Vienia. Tiafena Viano, Abant Asa Akakra.
So we answer with him.
Mi Baba, I know where 1 year in Tamanoa Yama, yet me off. Nabanchinaka. Entia,
General Bansana, not just a Banchini Bessiana.
And say, but Galena Enya Fetis said the Enka open on.
Victoria is one of the many women here at Accra town producing Gari in the very traditional way. There are about 13 women who have come together to form this enclave to hold on to the tradition of producing Gari in this manner.
Yeah, etuya kano ye ni na yamu ayejiji bom. Etuya. Ama feel eura. Nti ka ba ku bia yamu ni say 3 minutes. Ka nkiano kitu ana yamu ni 3 minutes, kasi ana yamu ni 4 minutes.
Namuni amache na metia. Na eja no so to say.
Oja de mi nkwa na ya meto we gu on etesiri ka krebi na me efiri ho. Etesiri. Ana we so asu we so sika, na asu we so sika.
Ntina say ubetiti ni nyina
efiri. Yes a uchi ba ku kura say di amache to mi chiwi a. Ese mi ti eja sika. Eja na odi chi ese uti. Asa na fufuro ba. O wa se mi anya bi. E di ato bi so ade achi di e ba. Do we wie. Ese ejuma na aje unsem.
Ejuma na me ma me ye. Eni nti asusu ano. Ana ye asusu ni mu a. Ana se asu e di ehu ye. Na ejuma no de ewo mu ni se sikeni ejuma ni. First na ye ma me no mu ye ejuma no. Na ye first na ye na school for no. Ana gale factories bebre ane epie no na ebi ni ho. Ti na ye ma me no mu kwa na ye nti na omo topa. Nti Awurade adom die nyame a edi ama ne se oba asase so omeye no. De ono timi ye no. Wa kwana ni wa to asase esifie. O na japade kakra.
Our aim on this show, Food Chain, is to educate, highlight opportunities and challenges in the sector, as well as connect farmers with value chain actors. We look forward to serving you again this year. My name is Emma Davies.